telling audience, I like that.
They need two
Yeah, and then she throws you a curve. Yeah, okay. Okay, let's call the meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, now we'll have a roll call.
Roll call, please. Debbie? Dave?
Here.
Carolyn?
Here.
Gary? Here. And Joe?
Here.
Okay.
Okay, we have any visitors or comments from the audience? Okay, approval of minutes. Let's see, for November 9th. Seems like I had something, but now I can't remember it. Okay, is there a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll move to accept the town board minutes of November 9th, 2015.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded to approve the town board minutes of November 9th, 2015. We'll take a vote.
Okay. Dave?
Aye.
Carolyn?
Aye, but we didn't have discussion. Was there any corrections I should have asked first? None? Okay, all right, so we can proceed, I'm
Dave's
sorry.
okay, Carolyn is aye.
Yeah.
Gary?
I,
And Joe?
Abstain.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Plan Commission, John.
We have three things on the agenda right now. First of all, you have before you, or the chair does, a resolution to approve the draft map for the new zoning revisions. And we are working on it. The Plan Commission has made some recommendations to changes to the county. I have been personally talking to the county for the last 3 days, 3 working days, and still haven't gotten through to them. We have some significant changes we need on that map before you approve it. What the county did arbitrarily is they just took areas and pieces and they moved them back to what would be compatible to the size, so that it would reflect the zoning according to size. That's not what we wanted. The last biennial review, which took 2.5 years to do, you approved, put small parcels next to, let's say, our parcels. They made them RR, so they seem to be contiguous. They seem or they do match the zoning in the area. All right. So we are still on that. What I would do is recommend to the board that once the changes are done, according to the Plan Commission's requirements, and given to you, that you approve them. And I believe you have a meeting coming up
The end.
part of the month, yes.
Yes.
And then we will get that to all of you with the changes accordingly. We need to put that back to where we were. We can't have the county changing our zoning arbitrarily without our consent, your
Yes.
consent. Okay. Secondly, we have
You have a question?
as you know, excuse me, any questions?
I was just gonna ask you, you got your PC meeting
That night
penciled in
also.
on the 28th, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we will go through that all. Hopefully we'll have those done. So immediately after the 28th, morning of the 29th, I'll get them to your clerk.
Yep.
Immediately, all right, with those recommendations.
Thank you.
You're welcome. As you know, the first draft has come out of the new zoning codes. It is online now, right? So you could pull it up or whatever. They will not be asking you to do anything until perhaps February or maybe early March. But there may be some changes you'll want to incorporate in our section.
Where do we find it online?
Yeah, online.
Where do we find it?
It's on the
County?
website for Marathon County,
Marathon County
under Conservation Zoning and Planning,
Thank you.
CPC, or CZP. We also have, as you know, we have the revisions done and the suggestions coming to you for approval on the comprehensive plan. Right now, I'm working with Jeff Prickard, who is the planning person at county, to get the right census numbers together, because most of the comprehensive plan really deals with the 2010 census. And then there are some projections, like for instance, population growth, estimated equalized value growth, and so on, which are purely conjecture. They're more like, just a flip of a coin type of thing. Although I have to tell you that when the plan was put together in 2005, it was within 2 to 3% of growth factors and all the other numbers and tables that you had agreed on. They came within 2 to 3%. So you did a good job. I mean, the commission did a good job, and the board did an excellent job. The last one is we have right now a draft in the works. We will have that to you for your January meeting of the subdivision ordinance checklist and ordinance. Okay. But what we're doing is we have looked at a half a dozen different ordinances across the United States, and really just almost plagiarized them. Took 3 pieces out that we think are acceptable to us, and they would work with our subdivision programs. And we'll have those ready for you on the 20th, actually, it'll be your meeting in January. The 28th will be taken up. And anybody, all the audience, constituents, board members would like to come to that meeting, we certainly would love to have your input, because the draft is ready. It's very simple. We've taken it from essentially 28 pages down to 4, and we've kissed it. Keep it simple, stupid. That's what we wanted to do. Any questions? Thank you.
Well, we commend you for all you've gotten done. It's, that comprehensive plan, all of the
Well, it's really simple. I've got a great commission. And I've got John Poppy now that you've approved is on. Some super people, as well as the precinct, several of the members that have left, Bart Tisloff and and I mean, they've been incredible. One thing about the plan commission, it's not a rubber stamp, believe me. There's arguments, as you know, you've been there, between the commissions, but all constructive. So, and all looking forward to making sure that we are attuned to the heartbeat of the township, and that we react to the needs of the township and what we want to do and what our character is, how we want to grow, and we certainly would like anybody to come to the plan commission with any ideas at all, and we'll entertain whatever people have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fire department, Ron.
There's not too much this month. That's one of the reasons that I was out of town. The board didn't get their normal sheet of paper. If you guys want, I can still draw it out. If you keep them on file, but if you don't, then I'll let this month go. We had 7 EMS calls since the last town board meeting, 2 motor vehicle accidents, 1 chimney fire, 1 carbon monoxide call, and a cancellation for mutual aid in Stratford. It ended up being a little smaller incident than what they thought. It was a chicken coop type thing. It was a big chicken coop. I think there's over 1,000 birds in that coop, so. But they were able to, it was like a ballast or something, so. And I know the concern has been, I've received a couple calls about the cars across the way. My trailer, I lost a bearing in my trailer, so I wasn't able to haul them. I got a hold of Shaw's, and she's gonna pick them up in the next couple of days to remove them for us, and they're not gonna charge us anything for it, so. And we've got our Keep the Wreath Green program going, and right now there's 4 red bulbs, so. And if you're not able to drive past the station, keep track of it, you can check us on our Facebook.
Must have just added one, huh?
Yeah.
'Cause I thought the other day there was 3 on there.
Yep. Any other questions from the board?
I just have a comment that, make sure you thank Shaw's for the use of the vehicles, I know you will.
I did.
Yep. That's been a real good learning tool for anybody that's been there. Anybody that wants to run a set of jaws or a cutting device, well, separate the men from the boys or the women from the girls. So,
Okay, thank you. And Ruth isn't here, so we will go on now here for our reports. Now, let's see if I can get everything covered I'm supposed to. Did you want to, for the Fall Fest recap, Rod?
I believe that the trainers did that.
I could. Somebody got a copy?
I do.
Oh my God.
There you go.
Total Fall Fest revenue was $26,649.55. Total expenses were $18,892.39 for a net of $7,757.16. I've got the detail to support those figures if anybody would like to examine it.
Okay, very good.
thank you.
That's good. Actually, it was much better than we thought with the, it was about 3,000, I think, less than last year, right? Right around there, something like that? Well, you.
I don't know.
Yeah, you don't know.
Yeah, that's, I was gonna ask that. I heard it was less than last year, but
If you remember, our weather wasn't quite as nice as we had.
yeah, it was a little cold.
Last 2 previous years, yeah.
Yeah, so,
But what has it been? Or,
well,
yeah, if it was like 10 the year before, you figure it was $3,000?
Yeah, it varies in about that area, yeah. One year, I think we got 15. I think it was 2 years ago.
2 years ago. It was when we had those big bands in. And that really drew them in. Otherwise, this is probably about normal. Yeah.
John, we started the first one, what, 88?
Yeah, right after the,
So in the,
Centennial.
probably the total revenue that has been contributed back by that fall festival to the community that is not taxpayers' dollars has been in excess of $250,000.
Oh, at least because we had 200,000 we put down on the
Right.
engine. I'd say probably since 1987, you're probably pretty close to 400,000
Yep.
coming back, and you know, it's really dependent upon the weather and the bands, and we probably could do. We had a period of time where we really didn't promote it at all. I think if the department and the township and everybody else, the community gets out and promotes it, we could do very well. I mean, one year we made 35,000,
Yep.
but you know, the number would be between 10 and 13,000. So I think they did well, considering, you know, you can't really count on the weather.
Right.
We've had them where it's been 75 degrees. We've also had it when it's been 35 degrees.
Yeah. Okay, very good. Mhm. Okay, going on to my reports here. We had our garbage meeting. I was asked at the budget meeting to please ask why it keeps going up. And everything is going up. You know, everything is going up, but it goes up because of the, somewhat due to the numbers increasing of people that use it. So, it doesn't sound like in our contract, in the contract, it's in there very specifically what the charges will be. And we have those charges through 2020. And that's when the contract ends, so, at that time, it can be taken up, I guess, if there's any other problems. Ordinances, we're gonna have a report by Joel and in terms of an ordinance and a newsletter, there are none at this point, so that's it for me. I think, wait a minute, let me see something. The public hearing for Marathon County's draft comprehensive plan is December 14th. So we missed it.
That's why I couldn't get a hold of everybody.
Not sure, yeah, they're getting ready, that
If
was
you're here
it.
tonight, you missed it.
Yeah, and they're, you know, and we're going to dovetail, you know, we're gonna go them on to their code street, so to speak. They're redoing theirs, and we can't really formulate ours to pass ours until the county does theirs, because ours is part of theirs, or vice versa, so, we'll wait for that.
I guess that's it at this point, for me. Okay, Davis.
Pat has continued to work, changing, getting ready for winter, putting wings on trucks. Did some blazed in. As the crops came off on certain areas in the township where he got permission first from the property owners to cut the banks off. He's been doing a lot of that, cleared those up. Did a lot of tree trimming when we had windy days. What else? Did the specs for the truck and got that squared away. Had some more repair on the newer truck. Put some new tires on the back of the tractor. They were right down at the bottom to the nubbin, so there was money in the budget. We changed tires on the ditch tractor more. Other than that, I guess that should about it.
Okay, Deb is not here. I think, hi. Hey. So we'll just finish with our supervisors here. We're very close to this. Deb is not here. George had surgery today for a hip replacement, so she was excused. Joe, did you want to bring forth for the implements of husbandry?
Yeah, in here, our implements of husbandry are permits, and last year we had done on this chart that the state put out, Wistock, that we had picked option E, which is one that the county had been picking, and that was something where we had to pass an ordinance requiring category B in all IOH, ag, CMVs to follow 23,000, 92,000 weight table. So we did that, and then because that we had to do different things, and we had people had to get permits where they needed them to exceed that weight table. The county has informed us that they have changed that, and they this year they're going to the bottom option here, which is option F, and that says it abides by Act 377. No special action needs to be taken. The table of weights governs the IOH and the CMBs, except the category B with no axle limit, 92,000. There's no publishing required, and we must respond to permit applications yet, just like the other one. And IOH, ag CMVs must apply for the permit to exceed those weight limits, and the category Bs must also provide for permits to exceed the 92,000. So, the way we had that set up, we had done an ordinance, and we were gonna have to renew the ordinance annually, which would have been at this meeting. The way I see it, is if we change our option to this option F, staying the same as county, then we don't have to do anything with the ordinance. We don't need an ordinance. We technically have an ordinance on the book, but it's, because it wouldn't be renewed, it would just kinda, I don't know what would happen to it, but we'd still be functioning basically the same thing, except we don't have to do any publishing. The other one, we had to pass and publish ordinance or resolution, also posted on DOT website. And state highways operate on that option E. But that doesn't bother us, they can operate whatever they want, so. The county has kind of said, you know, that would be a good way to go, to take that option F. That's would be my recommendation too, because it's just, it'll be less that we have to do, and we just have to, we don't even have to update it. Once we take it, that's what it is until we change it.
And action has to be taken at this meeting in order to set the guidelines for next year.
That's right.
Which we'll do under new business.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
But down the road, if we wanted to change, see, we didn't,
If we
say the
decide-
county did something we didn't wanna go along with, we could opt out.
We can go back and pick up a different one then, yes. Yeah, it's totally up to us what we wanna do with it. And because of the fact that we were doing it on an annual basis, the permits that I looked at before, and the permits, and the people that were asking about permits, I was always telling them, this permit, they're either gonna be a single trip permit where somebody's doing a project and they gotta get in with something heavy, or a lot of the ones that I was seeing were, I shouldn't say a lot of them, I didn't see a lot of them, but mainly the ones I was seeing were people wanted annual permits, like feed haulers that were coming in, you know, every week and needed to get on the road. And they wouldn't be specific route and so on, and then we have to look at that permit and put any restrictions we want on it, like if we don't want them going on such a road, we have to tell them that. And the difference is now that permit would not necessarily be an annual permit. It could be, if they get a permit, they got a permit. We at some point in time, we'll have a record of these permits, and if we have a road that needs to be addressed differently, we can contact the people that have permits to run it and change that.
Okay, good, thank you.
How many permits did you have inquiries about?
I actually had, like I said, not many. I actually had two different companies that provided me with a permit to approve. One was the UW and one was a feed company. The feed company had actually, I think it was 4 different permits for 4 different vehicles that they were running. I had about 5 or 6 other people that talked to me about them and tried to determine if they were gonna need them or not, and most of them didn't need them. They weren't running that heavy stuff that they needed.
An individual farmer, in other words.
Yeah.
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 And there are a number of changes that happened this last year in that program too, as far as they changed some, especially primarily in regards to width restrictions, length restrictions, that type of stuff, and lighting that's required and stuff. The initial start of it was really aimed at the weight problems, and now they're kind of looking at some of the other options that need to be covered.
Fine tuning it, in other words. Yeah.
Okay, I think, Gary, before we go to you, I'm gonna let call on Jennifer Holland from Rural Mutual, who wants to give us her presentation. Thank you.
timely for you, Carolyn, so what is the time limitation?
Can you do it in 15?
Be tight, but I'll try.
Okay. Thank you.
I've done it a few times, so.
Yeah, okay.
Keeping my file here.
Take one for Debbie. and
One for
me.
Deb.
Her stuff is up here on
One for you, and then
One for,
one for Claire.
okay, so you have Debbie's too? Okay,
I got this.
okay, you put it with her other stuff here.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you for letting me come tonight. Tonight I want to go over our renewal offer for rural mutual insurance for the insurance policies for the workers' comp and business owners, which renew January 1st of 2016. The first page is just an introduction of our company and of myself, so you're free to read that in your own terms. The second page is just the cover letter for Town of McMillan. So we're going to go to the next ones. Basically, instead of going through each individual coverage, because that would take all night, I'm going to tell you what's included, because most of what you see in here is included in this policy. So this page where it starts with the property coverages, building is on the upper left side. This is all covered within your property coverage. As far as the valuation is replacement cost coverage if the buildings are insured to within 80% of replacement cost. We do replacement cost estimators in the office, and we have to submit those to the company when we write a policy to ensure that they are within that 80% for replacement cost coverage. The buildings are insured on a blanket limit, and I'll have the breakdown of all the building coverage further on. When you flip it over and it says property coverage continued, everything on this page is included in the policy under the property coverage. The next page, property coverage continued. It starts with equipment breakdown in the upper left corner. We're on these pages yet. Good picture. Okay? Everything here is included in the property coverage on the policy as well. The next page then is the property schedule, and that's where I want to start going, because this is where the coverage is specific to the Town of McMillan. So the property schedule that's specific starts with the buildings and the personal property or contents. So here you see a list of all the buildings covered and the allocation for the building coverage. Totaling those down, the total blanket limit for buildings is $1,619,212. The building valuation is at replacement cost, and they do have an inflation guard of 4%. So these values went up 4% over last year's coverage. It was 69,000 some. It's approximately 70,000 that the building coverage increased over last year's coverage. The contents allocation there. We have an allocation for 15,000 town hall, 20,000 garage, 10,000 garage office, and 55,000 for the fire station. The blanket limit is 100,000. So what I want to point out is with blanket coverage, you have the total blanket limit available for any one building. So if you just had the town hall burn, you have the contents coverage up to 100,000 for what's in here. That way we don't have to inventory and know exactly what's in each building. We just have to have it properly allocated among all the buildings. The same goes for the building coverage. These allocations don't show up on the policy declarations. The only thing that you see on there is the total blanket limit, which is the $1,619,212. So if anything happens to any one building, you have more than these allocations. This is for the home office purposes of my allocations for the buildings. Your deductible, property deductible, is $500 for the policy. Okay? The perils insured against are comprehensive. How claims are settled is discussed at the replacement cost, and that's where I put in the note about doing the valuations for the buildings to ensure that they are within that 80% of replacement cost coverage. Going on, the additional property coverages. All of these are included in this town policy. agreed value, employee volunteer and worker personal auto coverage, glass breakage deductible waiver, rental expense reimbursement without a waiting period, specified outdoor property, and towing and labor. Those are all covered within this policy, and I have the breakdown of the coverage further on. The next page for the additional property coverage, the Business Owner's Advantage Plus, that endorsement is on the policy as well. That endorsement does two things. It adds coverage that is not in the base policy, and it increases coverage that's within the base policy. So if you see it say increases, that's where it's increasing coverage that's already in the base policy. Anywhere that it says adds, which is the right-hand column, it's adding coverage that was not in the base policy without this endorsement. The next page for additional property coverage, which should be a list like this. We're all on the same page. Okay? This is where it breaks it down more specifically into the amounts. Rather than pulling it from each individual coverage, I combined it into a matrix here for you so that you can just go down the list and see what is covered. So a couple things that I wanted to cover on there. You have the employee dishonesty endorsement, and you have $10,000 of employee dishonesty within the Business Owner's Advantage Plus endorsement as well. Outdoor signs, we have $2,000 to cover outdoor signs. The specified outdoor property, we have $50,000 of specified outdoor property. It gives the definition of what specified outdoor property is, but that's things that are outside building like playground equipment, billboards, signs, road signs. That's all specified outdoor property. The employee volunteer worker personal auto endorsement, as a reminder, with that endorsement, any board member, employee, or volunteer using their own personal auto in the course of town business is covered for their auto for physical damage. This is how the endorsement works. If you have physical damage, so you're going home from the meeting tonight and you hit a deer, this endorsement, you would put in a claim through us, pays either your deductible on your auto insurance, or you'd run it through your own insurance, or it pays the cost of repair or replacement up to $2,500. Okay? The Business Owner's Advantage Plus, it just gives specifically the breakdowns, the increases and the additions. So the next page with the property floater. This again is specific to the town. Gives a list of the emergency service vehicles. So if you want to look down the list of the emergency service vehicles, there were no changes in this area. Last year we had a change where the 2002 Pierce ladder truck was added at $210,000 for the value. The deductible on the emergency service vehicles is $500. And there's a few endorsements for the emergency service vehicles that I want to explain that will be consistent for the other coverages as well. So you see the endorsements listed below. We have the glass breakage deductible waiver. With that endorsement, you have $500 deductible for physical damage on emergency service vehicles. But because we have this endorsement on there, if you have glass breakage, we're going to waive the deductible. The rental expense reimbursement coverage that we have on here gives an explanation. So it provides for rental of similar vehicle or equipment when a covered vehicle is unavailable due to a covered loss up to $10,000. And that is with no waiting period. Some endorsements have a waiting period of 72 hours. This has no waiting period, so it will cover from the time of loss. The agreed value endorsement. The agreed value, with this endorsement, the insurance company is agreeing to cover the equipment for the amount that we have listed there. So, seeing that you added the 2002 ladder truck last year at $210,000, if 10 years pass by and you never change the value, and you have a total loss on that piece of equipment, and it's still insured for $210,000, you will be paid $210,000 less the deductible. This is different than a standard auto policy or companies that have an separate auto policy, because those are typically insured as actual cash value. So it is gonna depreciate. Because of the agreed value endorsement, these will not depreciate. Now, you can set the limit for something at a cash value limit. So looking at the 1990 pumper trailer at 5,000, that might not be what it is to replace that vehicle, for that trailer. That could be the cash value limit. So these values are the values that we're gonna base the premium on and that we're gonna pay claims on. Okay? Towing and labor, we have towing and labor for these vehicles of $1,000 for reimbursement for towing and labor. Any questions on those four endorsements? If you flip the page over, the next category that's specifically covered are the vehicles. So there's the schedule of the vehicles that we have insured on the policy. There were no changes in this area, so it should be the same for vehicles, and the amounts that we have them scheduled for. These vehicles have the same four endorsements that I just went through for the emergency service vehicles. Okay. If you go to the next page, I think Norm has yours.
Jennifer, I think
Yes.
we missed did we miss the excavator?
That would be on another category. One more category.
Okay, I see it. Yep,
So
yep.
the vehicles have the
Yep.
same four endorsements that the emergency service vehicles have. And if you flip to the next page, we've got the scheduled portable equipment,
Yep.
and that's where the excavator is. So the excavator, grader, mower, loaders, snowmobilers,
Yep.
ATV, and trailers.
Yep.
Okay. These have the same endorsements. The only endorsement that these don't have that the vehicles have is the towing and labor. Because towing and labor is available for vehicles, but it is not available for portable scheduled equipment. Okay, otherwise it's the same three endorsements. Yes,
On this, it says, the rental expense, it says 20,000 down below, above it says 10,000, all the rest
Oh.
of it.
it is 10,000. This one is a typo.
Okay.
So you can correct that. Thank you for catching it.
Under the rental expense reimbursement?
Rental
Correct.
expense reimbursement.
Under the portable scheduled equipment.
In black, it should be 10,000 like it is in red up above.
That's correct.
Mrs. Opitz, just for one thing, there was a mistake here. I mean, she's probably not aware of it at all, but the double wide trailer's been replaced
Okay, yeah.
with the tandem axle trailer.
Oh,
Okay.
So that would be a correction we need to get taken care of
okay.
for next year.
I thought they called that in when we got that new trailer. That's when you're
I
talking
believe that
about.
we did, yes,
Yeah.
but right here it's not right, so just that we would get that corrected.
Okay. And what was the value of the tandem axle trailer?
I'd have to look it up, I'd be lying if I didn't get it.
Okay.
I know that's more than 800 though.
Okay. I will check this against the policy to make sure that didn't just not get changed, but we will continue on. Okay, the next page goes over the portable equipment blanket. The portable equipment blanket is at 75,000, and it was changed. Wait. Double wide trailer, is it a 96?
Yes.
It was changed on the policy. We have it as a 1996 double wide trailer with the vehicle identification number as to follow. Okay.
But that's not the new one though, that's the old one.
That's the old one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Then,
96 is the old.
then it's not, then we do need the information on that. Okay. 75,000 of portable equipment blanket, $500 deductible on that. Emergency vehicle portable equipment blanket, $250,000 with a $500 deductible on that. And there is no miscellaneous equipment. Everything is under a different category. Okay. The next page goes into the business liability. This talks about what's covered under the business liability. And the following page on that is the additional liability coverage, which I'm going to go through a schedule with you again. Okay, so this is for you to refer back to if you have any questions, just for timeliness. So the following page is the liability coverage. This is the liability limits that are specific to this policy to the town. So for liability, we have $5 million per occurrence, which is $10 million aggregate, or the maximum available within a policy period if there's multiple claims. It has a separate aggregate for products and completed operations of $10 million. Damage to premise rented to you of $100,000, which is automatic with liability coverage. You don't rent your premise at this time. This is available if something happened here or if you did rent a premise, that this is automatically in there. Medical expense coverage of $10,000. That's a premise medical expense coverage. And this policy covers your auto liability as well. So with that, we have uninsured and underinsured motorist coverage of $1 million each, and auto medical payments of $10,000. The policy covers hired and non-auto liability as well, and that's important because any vehicles that you use are non-owned vehicles for the town, so that covers you when you're using your vehicles in the course of town business. Additional liability coverages, we have the public officials professional liability of $5 million. And we have pollution liability, broadened coverage for covered autos. So for the autos on the policy, the vehicles and the emergency service vehicles, we have $100,000 of pollution liability, broadened coverage. The fire department is covered under the liability. We have the Fall Fest covered under the liability. And we have the liability extended to the constable's house because there is the housing of the stray animals there. So that's covering you for those operations as well. Okay. Workers' compensation. These rates are set by the Compensation Rating Bureau, so they do change every year, typically October 1st of every year. Just so you know, the rate for municipal operations did increase. It went from $4.37 per hundred of payroll to $4.67 per hundred of payroll. So this is the new, adjusted amount. Due to audit, the payroll for municipal operations is up. We were at $81,624. As far as the town, the only individuals that fall under clerical are the treasurer, the clerk, and election workers. Typically, everybody else falls under municipal operations.
I have one question. Your experience modification factor is 1.00. Is that based on 3-year experience, or is that just taken out of context?
That is that there is no experience modification applied to this account.
Okay, so
They
start at 1, just
one is the base rates.
you have no experience mod,
They do not have an experience modification.
which means they haven't had any claims.
No, it means that they don't meet the premium threshold for an experience modification. Your premium has to exceed a certain dollar limit for 3 years before the Compensation Rating Bureau subjects you to an experience modification.
Okay. Have you had any experiences? Have they had any claims in the 3 years?
In the last 3 years?
Ever?
Workman's comp?
Yeah. Have you had any experience in the last 3 years?
There's one that may have been within 3 years.
I just might know.
They're not subject to an experience modification. They do not have an experience modification on the policy.
Okay. Yeah, well, one seems a little high, if they haven't had one. But that's okay. That's just the question.
They do not have an experience modification.
Okay.
If they were subject to one, then they would either have a number that was below or above that. Then it would be based upon their claims.
How are they not subject to one?
Your premium has to exceed a certain dollar level for 3 years in a row before you become subject to an experience modification. That's per the Compensation Rating Bureau. That is not by the insurance company.
So they haven't had it?
They do not have an experience modification.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, with this, we have you with the dividend plan. The standard variable dividend plan is listed at the bottom, and the schedule for that is later on in the proposal. Premium summary page, business owners package, Farm Bureau membership, which is required for these policies, the workers' compensation, which took the biggest change. I don't know if you have yours last year, Dave, to refer back to. That was about $700 or $800 due to the modification or the rate change for municipal operations. That's something that is set by the state we can't control. So it gives you the total premium. We do have $7 of billing that's due yet from the change for the gazebo. So that shows up on the special bill that you received. So the total special account bill includes the $7 for the policy change. Okay?
The number last year was for workers' comp was 4880 versus 5968.
Sure.
That went up 30 cents on per 100?
Was that on the summary, Dave? Because I just did that.
Well,
No, this was 13 to 14. It would have been.
Oh, here, well, I have over here.
14 to 15 is.
15, here it is. I knew I'd looked at this and
I think it was
wrote
over
on
5,000. I think it was.
Here, right here it is.
That's 14.
Right, 4880
Right here.
and to 5232.
5232.
So,
So last year it was 5232,
went up to
and now it's
5968.
5968. Okay? Sure. Thank you. The
Isn't that based on 30 cents on per 100 of payroll?
per 100 of payroll, and there was wage increases. So there's two factors that were in there.
Okay.
Public official bond, we have the $15,000 public officials position bond. We have the 3 positions covered. It's $15,000. The bond period goes till April 14th. The next page is a schedule for the standard variable dividend plan. So when the policy period ends, after that, the clerk gets an audit and fills out the paperwork. Within 6 months of the audit, they do the dividend calculation based on claims history. So then, based on your incurred loss ratio and your premium range, you get a % back in a dividend. Now, no company can guarantee give dividends, and I must say that, but this is the dividend plan that we offer. The next 2 pages is just a summary that I do for towns that kind of brings everything together in a couple pages, gives you a quick glance breakdown of your coverages. And then the last page, and I apologize, Carolyn, for going over, but this is wrapping it up. The last page is the summary. Changes since last renewal. Building values are increased over last year. It's right under 60,000, and that's due to the inflation guard. We added the gazebo this fall for 13,000. The policy now includes cyber liability, so I'll be sending you information on the cyber liability. You can opt out of cyber liability, but it is included in the premium that's on here. The workers' compensation rate increased for municipal operations from the $4.37 to $4.67 per 100 of payroll, and the municipal operations estimate was increased from $71,000 to $81,000 due to the workers' comp audit. So that's based on the actual audit and actual numbers we had from the town. The most recent claims that were paid were the ones in 2013. There was one in 2014 that was for road damage, and nothing was paid out on that. So the last one was the Ford hitting a tree during a fire call, and in September of 2013, the firefighters injured at the Fall Fest. For correspondence, we added the policy for liability for setting off the fireworks at the Fall Fest. The activity was subcontracted out in the past, so the cost of the policy was $849.75 for $1 million of liability. The bonds we already discussed, and the renewal documentation. We always want an update of any vehicle changes, any driver changes, fire department roster. The expenditures are updated in May after annual reports are done in April. Workers' compensation audit. Here is the signed 9-point test for your assessors. Are you still using Jeremy Kurzweil?
James.
Or James? I'm sorry, there's 2 of them.
Yes.
His son does it as well. So, Norm?
Sure.
When you do your audit, you need to submit this with your audit. Okay. And the dividend on the workers' comp. Do you have any questions? Yes.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Someone's using one of the buildings for their personal use and gets injured, are they covered?
Are they covered or is it town covered?
The town covered.
Okay.
Something happens.
The
Say they're-
town would-
Say they're over in the fire department, washing their vehicle,
Mhm.
or working on it, their own private vehicle. And something happens and they get hurt.
This policy would respond to defend the town. Whether they would be covered for their injuries or not depends on the circumstances. So, it's just the same as if any town has the ability to rent out your town hall, and many of our towns do. So if you rent out your town hall, you are going to be covered for liability if somebody's injured during those operations. When people do rent out the town hall, we ask that you have some kind of a rental agreement that stipulates what should be done. If somebody opts to do it on their own and the town is not aware of it, whether their injuries would be covered, that becomes a part for the court to go through and the claims adjuster to determine, whether it goes to court, whether they sue you. But whether this policy would respond to defend the town, yes, this would. So how it plays out is going to depend on the circumstances of the claim. Somebody decides that they're going to work on their vehicle and they cut off their fingers and they happen to be in the fire department. Did they have authorization to do so? Were they doing town business or fire department business or their own personal business? They weren't working for the town, they weren't covered by workers' compensation at the time. So those are the questions that come up, and that plays out in court. Ultimately, liability is mainly, other than the ancillary coverages that we have, bodily injury and property damage. Workers' compensation covers workers for their injuries incurred while working. How liability plays out in the court, it ultimately goes through court. Things are settled out of court before that when they think this is going to be a judgment against you. But it often starts with a summons and a complaint. And that's why I go through with my boards. If you receive a summons for anything, tell me. Because even if it's not something seeking bodily injury or property damage, even if it's seeking a reversal of a decision, there's no monetary payout. You have defense coverage within your public official's professional liability. So how that would play out in court, I couldn't answer any more than if you posed it to an adjuster, other than this policy would respond to defend the town. Same thing if you're using your vehicle for town business and you have a liability claim, you hit a pedestrian. This policy will respond to defend the town, but a personal injury attorney is going to seek all responsible parties. And if you look at the court site, it'll say, this person versus this person and their insurance company, Town of McMillan and Rural Mutual Insurance. And they will list all parties because they're looking for somebody to pay. So, yes, this would respond to defend the town. So whether they would be covered or not is going to depend on the circumstances of it. Okay. Any other questions? Because you'll be reviewing this and reviewing any other proposals that you have, if you have any questions that come up after this, please feel free to contact me. You can either do it through Carolyn or contact me yourself, however the board wants to do it. You have my contact information. You can email me, you can call me. If you call me, I'm in and out of the office with appointments. I will get back to you on it. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
With all the paperwork, the Farm Bureau membership does have benefits. I just printed one of the benefit sheets if you guys want to pass that around. Because the Farm Bureau membership is required for this policy, it's not optional. It does have benefits with it. Thank you.
We've got a Farm Bureau membership, something a little bit familiar with that.
What? I'm sorry, what?
We have,
Yeah.
I'm a Farm Bureau member.
He knows about, he knows
So
about
you're
that.
familiar with them?
Yeah, okay.
But it's available to anybody here.
Yes, there are certain ones that are individual benefits on there, like, for example, the accidental death policy. That's for an individual member. So even if I have a farm corporation that has a membership, farm corporation doesn't get that, that's an individual one. Any of the ones that are specific for an individual, which would be the script save, the accidental death policy, those are on an individual basis. But any of the hotel discounts, the Avis rental, the town purchases a Polaris, purchases a vehicle subject to the rebate, they can get that.
General Motors, yeah.
Yep. So, thank you for your time, I appreciate
Okay,
it.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you, too.
Thanks.
Hello.
You can introduce yourself, right?
Okay. Oh, good evening.
Hi,
I am Corey Hoffman with Marshfield Insurance.
okay.
And I want to say that we certainly appreciate the opportunity to address the town of Millen and the Millen Fire Department's insurance needs. I want to give a special thank you to Norm Kummer and Rodney Bauer, who were instrumental in allowing me to gather the information that I need to put this proposal together for you. Just a brief overview. We're going to offer you a program that's underwritten by Continental Western Insurance Company. They're part of the Berkeley Group. They're an A-plus rated carrier by the investor organization. It's very important that you partner with a financially strong and stable insurance carrier, and we certainly are one. No two insurance policies or programs are identical, so as we go through this, you'll probably see some differences between what we're offering and what we have with rural, what you've had with rural. My opinion is that we're going to offer you more instances where we're offering you more coverage, better coverage in some cases, some coverages that perhaps you don't have now, but I'm a little biased on that. That'll be your decision to make. So, we propose, I have 7 of these. Who wants one?
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
That young man.
Okay. Okay, open the proposal here. But I guess before I dig into the details here, to differentiate one of those differences right now between what we're offering you and what you have now in rural. We're going to give you a separate policy for the township, a separate policy for the fire department. The advantages to you of this are specifically when it comes to liability coverage. Each entity is going to have its own liability limits. And where that can come into play is, let's say for example, well, let me back up and explain. A liability policy contains several sets of sublimits within it. The most important ones are the per occurrence limit, which represents the most that will be paid for any one claim, any one loss. There's also always an aggregate limit. That represents the most that will be paid in total. It's a cumulative limit. The most will be paid in total for all claims during the policy term. Okay, so each entity is going to have its own separate liability policy and limits. So for example, let's say we have a $2 million loss on the township policy. So that's going to reduce the aggregate limit available to be paid on the township policy by that $2 million. You have 5 million occurrence, 10 million aggregate limits right now. That's what we're offering as well. So now you will have not 10 million anymore, but a total of $8 million of liability coverage to be paid, available to be paid during the policy. But the limits on the fire department policy will not be affected by that. You'll still have your $10 million aggregate limit on the fire department policy. Also, claims on one policy will not affect the pricing or the availability of coverage on the other one. So for example, we have a number of claims, let's say in the township, or if it doesn't matter, or the fire department policy, that will not affect the rates on the other policy. So there's some advantages to having two separate policies, so. All right, I am going to turn to page 3, and we're starting with the township policy here. Again, before we get too detailed into this, I was told I had 15 to 20 minutes here, so we're going to take a surface view of things. If at any time anyone has any questions, we want to dig a little deeper and see how coverage would work, just feel free to ask, and we'll be happy to do that. We're blanketing your property coverage, the building and business personal property coverage, which is what's being done now in the goal policy. I think you'll see when we look at the township policy here and then the fire department policy, the fire hall and the shed next to the fire hall are going to be covered on the fire department policy. Okay, every other building item and the contents in it will be covered here under the township policy that we're looking at now. The limits that you see are probably close, but maybe not identical, what you see in the rural policy. I think when you add what we're offering on the township policy here in terms of total property values, and then when we look at the fire department policy that we're going to offer you, we're offering you a little over $1.9 million in total property coverage for your building and your business personal property. I don't know where rural's total property values are going to come out here for the renewal. I'm going to guess probably maybe a little under 1.7 million. I think we're probably offering you in total a little more property coverage, maybe roughly 200,000 more than what we would have in the rural policy. Couple things in particular here. I noticed that you don't have personal property, business personal property. We think of that in terms of contents, that's another term for it. You don't have contents coverage in a few of the buildings right now. And that's okay, because the township has a $75,000 limit of unscheduled tool equipment coverage. The fire department has a $250,000 limit of fire department equipment, turnout gear, communications, what have you, medical tech equipment. If those are the types of items that are stored in these buildings, that's fine, because those items are covered no matter where they're at, on premises, off premises, what have you. But if there's, I don't know, if there's just supplies, parts, whatever it might be, things that we probably would be a stretch to say was portable equipment or fire department turnout gear, communication equipment, anything medical related, then you probably don't have coverage for anything that wouldn't be considered portable equipment or fire department turnout gear and equipment and so forth. In 3 buildings, and they are the shed that is located to the north of the 2 town garage, big office and garage, and then garage building. The fuel in the tanks over there. The park pavilion building. And then when we see the fire department, when we look at our fire department policy, we see the shed over at the fire department. There's no contents of business personal property in those buildings now. It may not be a big deal, but we're going to include all the buildings, including the fuel and tanks there under our blanket limit. And special ferals coverage. Here's one difference. In all fairness, I'll point out maybe the rural is a little better. It's up to you to decide what the value of this is. You have a $500 property deductible for right now. Coverage on our policy, the coverage for the buildings and the business personal property contents is going to carry $1,000 deductible. So there's a slight difference there. We're including equipment breakdown coverage, which I believe you have now. I also need to point out, and I don't know if this is on the rural policy now, but this policy will include a cosmetic exclusion that will apply to the buildings with metal roofs. And we're seeing this more and more in insurance now. Maybe some of you have seen it in your homeowners policies. It's not stated in here. I see you looking for it. It's not stated in here, but I want you to be aware. How that works is, let's say we have a hailstorm and it dents up one of our metal roofs, but there's no, it still functions fine. It's not leaking. There's no structural damage to it. This insurance policy is not going to pay to put up new metal roofing panels there just because you have a few dents in the panels you have. We're seeing that more and more often in insurance these days. I wanted to point that, it would be in here, so. On the next page, if we're ready to move on the next page, we see Kent on the Western's property enhancement. Every world has something similar. I call this like a bells and whistles enforcement. We're just throwing a bunch of other stuff on here, coverages on here that some of it has some importance, some of these really don't. I'm not gonna go through every one due to time constraints here. There's coverage for the sewer and drain backup, that's an important one. I'll just I'll highlight a few. Ordinance and law coverage, so insurance policy is an indemnity policy, it'll pay to put back what you had before. But it won't pay any additional cost due to, let's say, rebuilding or repairing to meet modern code, which you'd have to. So for example, this building is a little bit older building. If there was significant damage to it, repairs were made. Of course, they'd have to be made to meet modern current codes now. If it costs more to do that than it would have cost to replace what you had, the same type of construction material, what have you, that you had, the unendorsed insurance policy is not going to pay those additional costs. We'll give you up to $250,000 additional coverage there. Commandeered property. Okay, so in an emergency situation, we need to commandeer a piece of, say it's a town residence, maybe it's a tractor, or maybe it's maybe they happen to have a bulldozer or an excavator or something. We need to commandeer that to take care of whatever emergency we're dealing with. We're going to have up to $500,000 of coverage for commandeered property. Computer software and telephone systems, it's right underneath the commandeered property. We'll give you separate limited coverage on your computers, including software. The standard property policy gives you limited coverage on software. It's usually $2,500. Rose policy may expand on that, I don't know. But we'll give you up to $100,000 of specific coverage on computers, software, and the telephone systems. Employee dishonesty, you have a $25,000 limit now, we give you the same. That's if your employee is stealing money or property in any form. Errors and omissions, I'm going to mention this real quickly just because it's unique. I've never seen it before. But so I didn't know, to be honest with you, I had to call the underwriter because I didn't know how this would apply on a property insurance policy. But what I found out is that if you failed to notify us of a new property situation, maybe we put up a new building, or we put an addition on, or we bought a piece of equipment that we didn't have before, and not every policy gives you a certain grace period, a period of time where you ought to have automatic coverage on newly acquired property. But if that grace period would expire and you still had failed to notify us, and now technically you have no coverage, the errors and omissions that's built in here would pay that up to $50,000. Also would pay if you do notify us and somehow, for some reason, we fail to make the change to your policy, it would also cover, not cover us, but cover you for our mistake, because what your policy will then do is it's going to come back after us anyway. But yours will pay promptly up front. It's unique coverage. Just quickly going on down the line here, money and securities, you have some coverage now. I think this is more important when we get into our fire department policy, because from what I understand, it's the fire department that sponsors Fall Fest and probably is dealing with the funds there. But if the township has any other situations where it's dealing with cash, we have up to $10,000 of coverage. Outdoor sign, the only reason I mention this is I see it on the road policy of $2,000 of coverage now. You have $25,000 here. I don't know that you have any signs that would take more than $2,000 to replace. I don't know, but you'd have up to $25,000. Anything in here that grabs anybody's attention that we want to talk about any further? Otherwise, we can move on. The next page. Okay. Schedule equipment. So again, we've kind of made a differentiation here between equipment that would be for fire department use and be for township use. And correct me if I'm wrong on any of these assumptions. We can move any of this stuff back and forth from one policy to the other, but this is how we've laid it out here. Grader, excavator, and generator tractor attachments we're going to cover here in the township policy. We provide replacement cost coverage. So these limits of coverage that we've had, and I think these are identical to what was on the rule policy. Maybe they changed a little bit at renewal time now. I don't know. But, for example, a 99 Champion grader, 271,000, I haven't gone out and shopped for a grader lately, but that seems like a lot of money. Is that what it would take maybe to replace that with a fairly new item, similar new item? Okay. Well, good, because that's how our coverage works. We give you the replacement cost coverage, so we would want you to insure the limits that are reasonably close to what it would take to replace a brand. So we'll give you a brand new piece of equipment back. Let's see, lease rent, I don't know if you have this now, if you ever need to lease or rent equipment, we give you up to $100,000 coverage automatically, lease or rent equipment. Small tools, this is that 75,000 limit I referenced before that you have now in rural policy. We'll do the same. The only difference is rural will pay up to $2,000 maximum for any one item here. Our policy would be up to $5,000 maximum for any one item. Move on. Okay, liability coverage. Here's where I kind of referenced those limits before. 5 million occurrence limit, 10 million aggregate limit. So we talked a little bit about what those mean. Go down to the bottom of the general liability section and it references employee benefit liability. I don't know if you have this now, but what it does for you is it protects you for errors in the administration of any employee benefit type program. So it could be health insurance, it could be pensions. So for example, maybe if we fail to enroll somebody in the health insurance program when we were supposed to, and now they have an uncovered medical bills because of an accident or an illness or what have you, this would cover us for situations like that. It's included in the 5 million occurrence, 10 million. Next item, employment practices liability. Again, this is something that I don't know if you have now. I didn't see it on the rural policies, so I don't know. We'll give you $1 million for each wrongful act, 2 million aggregate here. This is coverage for claims by former, current, potential employees for some form of maybe discrimination or harassment. You didn't hire me or you fired me because I was the wrong sex or sexual orientation or whatever the case may be. So this is a very important coverage that you ought to have. Don't know if you have it now. Professional liability, this is public officials professional liability. We can call this directors and officers liability, similar terminology. So this essentially covers the board here. It covers the entity and employees and even citizens within the township too, but it covers you for acts and decisions that you make or maybe don't make that someone may claim adversely affects them. So I believe these are the same limits that you have. No, let me back up on that. From what I saw, you have a $5 million each wrongful act or occurrence limit on the rural policy, but you also have a $5 million aggregate limit. So the most they'll pay in total would be $5 million. We're going to give you the 10 million aggregate. So again, that's the cumulative limit. The most they'll pay in total is 10 million for all claims added together. Coverage highlights down on the bottom real quick. We'll pay non-monetary damages too. Most policies only pay monetary. Our public officials liability and employment practices liability includes coverage for prior acts if you're not aware of them. Let's say, for example, you switch to our policy on January 1st, 2016. Something happened prior to that date, though, that you're not aware of yet, that somebody later on then brings some sort of action against the township, against the board here. We'll still cover that, even though it happened before our policy took effect. As long as you weren't aware of it, we'll still cover that. We're also going to give you some privacy breach / cyber liability. This isn't a lot of coverage, but it's just kind of a throw in here. Obviously, this is becoming more and more important. We've all heard of the hacking into Target was a big one. It wasn't even Target, but it was some provider of theirs. So if someone's confidential information falls into the wrong hands here and it was somehow our fault, our responsibility, we would have some coverage here. We can look at higher limits of coverage if you want here, and maybe we should. But these are the highest limits that are offered in the book, and we have to go to a standalone policy. Should we move on? Okay. Automobile, I think the limits, the liability limits, uninsured, uninsured bonus that you're looking at here, I think are the same that you have in the whole policy. We're gonna give you higher than non-auto liability. It's coverage for the use of vehicles on behalf of the township that aren't owned by the township. Let's see, towing, there's some towing coverage, rental reimbursement. Replace personal autos, okay. The coverage is a little broader when we get to the fire department policy, and that's probably where it's more relevant. But if township employees were using their own vehicles on behalf of the township, you know, this policy will pay either, if their vehicle is damaged in an accident, it will pay either their deductible, or if they have no comprehensive collision, it will pay the cost of repair, replace their vehicle. That policy gets a little broader when we get to our fire department policy, and it's more important there, I think, because there we have situations where fire department members are racing to a scene of an accident or a fire, what have you. So here's our list of vehicles. Again, we're differentiating between vehicles we're going to cover in the township policy and the fire department policy. I think when you look at the two, I think we've got every vehicle listed here. You know, let me know if we missed something. But the physical damage coverage you have now is agreed value. Ours is designated value. It's replacement cost. We'll pay to replace your vehicle with a brand new vehicle. We'll pay either up to the designated value. Well, we won't pay more than the designated value, but we'll pay to replace it with a brand new vehicle. So these designated, the values that you're looking at, if you want to pick a limit of coverage that's high enough to replace your vehicle with a brand new one, you can insure it for that vehicle, and then we will buy you a brand new vehicle if there's a total loss there. So that's something to consider when looking at the values, the amounts of insurance that we're picking. You get 500 deductibles down, that's what we're offering. Move on? Okay. Last page here in the fire department, or the township policy premium. Here are the premiums. Now, of course, we have to add this number to the premium for the fire department policy to kind of compare to what you're paying right now on the one policy we did. So, yeah, let's flip the page. Fire department. These first couple of pages, we've already seen them. Let's go back here. Let's go to page 3. Where we talk about the property coverage available for the fire department. Yeah, here it's the fire station and the shed next to it. We're not going to blanket the property coverage here because we can offer something better on the fire hall. Our policy will offer guaranteed replacement cost on that building. So whatever it takes to replace that with a similar building, even if it's higher than the limit you see here, this policy will pay the cost to do that. And the limit you see here is higher to begin with than probably what you might see assigned to the fire hall right now. Even it's blanket covered, but there's a limit assigned to it on the rural policy. This limit is higher than that because we did a little replacement cost estimate, and we figured that this limit is a little more accurate in terms of what it's totally replace the building. We're not experts in the field, but that's what we came up with. But beyond that, we'll pay more than that. The $785,000 that you see here, it should take more than that to replace that building. And there's no cap on that. Some guaranteed replacement cost coverage is a coverage that's available on homeowners policies with most carriers. A lot of them don't have a cap. They'll say we will only pay X amount of dollars above the limit, or we'll pay X percentage above the limit. There's no cap here. The storage shed, we've got $20,000 on that. I think that's a little bit more than what's accounted for that being in the rural policy. The personal property here, again, I don't see any coverage for business personal property contents in the storage shed next to the fire department building on your current policy. We're certainly going to include some. And that will be blanketed. It didn't print out that way, but we'll blanket the personal property. So you really have 65,000 under this personal property coverage applied between the fire hall and the shed, however you need it. Okay, quick breakdown coverage is included as well, so what you have now. Next page, I'm on page 4 now. This is the bells and whistles endorsement. It's put on the fire department policy. It's a little bit broader in some sense, in some cases, than what is available on the township policy. I'm not going to go over every one of these. I will tell you that the limits in some cases are higher than what we saw on the township policy for some of these additional coverages. If anyone has any questions, we can address them. Otherwise, we can move on. Okay, and we're on page 5 now. It says inland marine up on top. This is where we pick up the portable equipment, fire department portable equipment. It's blanket guaranteed replacement cost. We'll pay whatever it takes to replace these items. Up to a total limit of $250,000. $500 deductible. It's the same limit that you have now in the rural policy. Okay, so there's some schedule items here, equipment items that we kind of assign to the fire department. And again, we could move things back and forth between the fire department and township policy if it's more appropriate. A differentiation between our policy here and what you have with rural regarding this equipment is that, again, we'll pay replacement cost coverage on the equipment. I think in the rural policy, it's agreed value, but the limits are a little lower. Our underwriter just increased the limits a little bit, and maybe we need to raise them a little bit more to replace the specific item that you have here. But I think you had $2,500 on the snowmobile. I don't know what it would take to replace it. The underwriter threw $8,000. So if the snowmobile is a total loss, we'll pay up to $8,000 to buy it brand new. You're only going to get $2,500 from the rural policy. The four-wheelers, the same thing. I mean, you have $5,000 limits right now. Four-wheelers, the underwriter bumped into $7,000. Again, maybe it would take more than that to replace the specific items that you have. We can increase the limit, and you'll get a new machine. Same thing with the trailer. Did you see that?
Was this the right, this is the right trailer on this one?
Right, it's not.
Okay.
So we would need to change that.
Yeah.
Okay. Coverage enhancement down the bottom, commandeered property, we talked about that on the township policy. You get an even higher limit coverage here on the fire department policy. Firefighters' personal effects and property of others, up to $100,000. I guess if you need to rent a piece of equipment, we'll have some automatic coverage for that. We're ready to move on here. I'm on page 6, the liability coverage available to the fire department. You see the same occurrence and aggregate limits that you have now and that we saw in our township policy. You have specific firefighters liability coverage here and also emergency medical services liability coverage. I know rural has an endorsement, firefighters liability, something other they call it. It's on their policy. It's probably something similar here, but I don't know specifically. Again, you see the employment practices liability, we already talked about it. Professional liability, again, you have separate limits of coverage here versus what you have in the township policy. Okay, so we're going to include liquor liability. We have an exposure to this, certainly during the Fall Fest event. I don't know that you have it right now in the rural policy. It's not obvious that you do. Maybe it's hidden somewhere. But we'll give you liquor liability coverage. So that's a situation where if we are illegally serving, and I guess that means, let's say, i.e. to a minor, and then once they leave here, something bad happens, we have coverage for that. Special events, okay? We'll cover everything associated with the Fall Festival. Music concert, well, it's kind of the same thing, Fall Festival, it's not included. But the big one here is we will cover your liability exposure associated with the fireworks show, fireworks detonation. That will be covered right here. Same 5 million occurrence, 10 million aggregate limit that you have for everything else. I think you maybe had to get a separate policy for that last year, and I don't know how World's gonna address it going forward, but we certainly will cover right here. Not much more to add on our coverage highlights. These are similar to what we saw under the township policy. Auto coverage. Okay, again, these are autos, vehicles that are specific to the fire department. So again, between the two policies we're offering, if we missed the vehicle, please let me know. We already found out we need to change from the trailer. So the employee's personal auto coverage works a little bit differently here. It's a little broader coverage here, and it's probably more relevant because, again, we have fire department members using their own vehicles, racing to a scene or at least to the fire hall. We will provide, on this policy, we'll provide primary liability coverage for them in an emergency situation. So if they get into an accident and they injure some other party, before they have to go to their personal auto policy, we'll cover them here on the fire department auto policy. And then for damage to their car, it would work the same way as it does on the personal or on the township policy. I'm sorry. We'll pay either their deductible for their physical damage loss, or if they don't have any insurance coverage, then we'll pay the cost to repair the price of the vehicle. Again, designated value coverage is what we're offering on the autos, and it is replacement cost. So I would suggest we look at the limits and pick limits high enough to replace our autos with brand new, because that's what we'll pay you to do, as long as the limit of coverage you're choosing is high enough to do that. I think these limits are similar to what you have. You see under the policy. You can certainly make any adjustments if necessary. Any questions here on this page?
Pumper trailer, we probably won't put some value on that.
Pardon me?
The pumper trailer, you have no value on
Yeah,
that.
that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. I guess I overlooked that. They're not doing designated value on that because the carrier couldn't find a value for it. But, I mean, if you tell us this is what it would take to replace that with a similar new item, that's what we would put on here. Right now, it's actual cash value coverage, the way they've set it up, meaning that's how everybody's personal policy works. You just get paid what it's worth at the time of the loss. But if you can tell us what it would take to replace that with a similar new item, we'll place that value of coverage on it, and then you'd have to replace it. So that's a good question. Anything else here? Okay, page 8 has the premium for the fire department policy. I don't know what you're paying on the rural policies, but I do believe this is a very competitive premium. Again, you need to add it to township policy, fire department policy, that together to compare to what you're paying out to the rural. I'm confident this is very competitive. I don't know if it's better or worse. I think we have, in some cases, better coverage and maybe some coverages that we don't have now. So you need to take that into account and determine which offers the best value for you. Work comp, final tab here. Continental Western no longer provides work comp coverage in this program. So we would have to place your coverage through the Wisconsin State Pool. You pay the same price up front through the pool versus through a voluntary market carrier, i.e. rural. There's only 3 ways in which work comp premium can be different from one policy, from a pool policy to a non-pool policy. One of them is if your premium is high enough, if your premium is over $10,000, you're eligible for a premium discount. It's a discount off of every dollar paid in excess of $10,000. Standard market insurance carriers have the ability to give you that discount. A pool carrier does not. But your premium isn't that high. It's not even close to that. So that's a non-issue. Rural could be offering you a dividend. I don't know. It'd be a percentage, either a fixed or variable percentage that would be returned to you at the end of the policy. I can't offer you that on this pool policy. The premium up front will be the same, but I can't offer you the dividend. So there could be a difference there.
But it would still be based on actual payroll, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. The policy would work the same way it does now. I mean, you start with an estimate on payroll, at the end of the term, you're audited. Either you pay more, or you get some refunded to you based on how your actual payroll compared to the estimates starting out. That wouldn't change. That wouldn't change. One thing I would recommend you do, though, specific to the work comp, you have the statutory limits for employers' liability coverage right now, 100,000 each accident, 100,000 each employee disease, 500,000 policy limit disease. You don't have an umbrella policy that goes over top and gives you higher limits of all those things. No, you don't have an umbrella policy with rule that I saw. You wouldn't here either, because we have really high limits on the auto and the line general liability policy, included in the package. But you can increase the employer's liability limits right on your work comp policy up to $1 million. $1 million across the board. I would suggest you do that. That's not coverage available to an injured employee. This is a third-party coverage. It's, a spouse, a child wants to bring some sort of suit against the township or fire department because you were grossly negligent and that led to the injuries sustained by their loved one. They're an employee of yours, and now they're going to sue you for some sort of loss of quality of life of this person. Those claims are not easy to be successful at in Wisconsin, but and you don't see them often. But for the probably $150 to $200 it would cost to increase those employer liability limits to $2 million, the maximum we can get here, I would suggest.
And that would be the umbrella,
Well,
basically. Sort of.
if you have an umbrella policy, the umbrella limits could be extended over the employer's liability part of your work comp policy, but you don't have the umbrella, so I'm suggesting you increase the employer's liability limits right on the work comp
And that's
policy.
about 150, you said.
The 150 to 200.
What would the umbrella cost?
I'd have to quote one. I'd have to quote one to you. More than, I can tell you, more than that. More than that.
Well, we don't need the umbrella for the other stuff because.
No, you don't, because you have the fire.
High enough limits on everything else.
Yeah, they're, I can't tell you how much is high enough, I don't have a crystal ball,
Yeah.
but those are pretty responsible limits. Yeah. So, do we have any questions? The program's been around since the mid-80s, there's over 200 townships and over 200 fire departments that go through this program right now. It's as broad a coverage as I've seen. I think it's probably priced competitively, but you'll have to decide which option offers the best value to it. We certainly would appreciate working with you.
Well, we thank you for coming to see us and presenting. And we're gonna have to, I think, study this a little
Making it as
bit.
concise as you could.
Yeah.
We can
Yes.
go on.
Thank you.
Honestly, this is not all that exciting for me either, but that's what I do, so.
Okay,
So I appreciate your time and your consideration. Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Corey.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Gary, we'll go back to you. We have anything on the newsletter, town hall meeting.
Something on the newsletter, town hall, I got a ballast, I finally got another ballast, so I got that light that didn't work, and I actually got 2 ballasts, so I don't have to wait for them. I got a spare in that closet.
Can you check those up at the pavilion?
You got some lights that don't work up there?
Yep, the outside ones. There's some working, but when we had the electrician out there, he said that it looked like we'd probably have to have new ballasts put in for the ones that aren't. So if you want to take a look at them.
See, like on here, I just,
I mean, if you
I
can.
put bulbs in that worked, and they didn't work, so I knew it was the ballast, but
Okay.
If you get a chance, I mean.
Okay. Clerk, approval of checks and financial report.
That's all where we were at. I thought we'd be almost done with this meeting, that's why I came.
Poor timing.
Carolyn, you want to call Debbie, see if she has anything to report?
Got nothing.
No, we already went over. So you're too late. Yeah, well, we knew that it was gonna take a.
Madam Chair, can I add something?
Yes, you may.
I would suggest that your highway department and your fire department list all of your portable equipment. Okay, get a complete inventory of everything you own, and get it off premises. Okay, have it in a different area, plus the fact you should have it in a safe at, at the clerk's office. Because your policies are indicating that you're going to pay, read values on it, okay, and some aggregates, right? Point is, what happens if we have a complete tornado that wipes out virtually everything here? Because this is a complex, right? You also might want to look at replacement costs rather than agreed values. Because replacement costs are going to be exactly what that is, what that particular piece of equipment is worth. And if they're looking at putting in, like their ladder truck, to give you a brand new ladder truck, the roller stadium, what you have to look at. That's my only comment.
Thank you. I think we need to maybe have some more things listed. We need to do some real, what is it, you go through and
Inventory?
Inventory. There you go.
Yeah.
The word was escaping me. Yes,
but
yeah.
You can set the ladder truck at a value. This was a real steal you bought that for. That's worth a lot more than what's in there.
Yeah.
One of the evils of a cash-based accounting system is that you have no fixed assets registered. You are precisely correct.
Right. And they're gonna pay you whatever you know.
You're not even gonna know what you're missing.
Right.
You don't have a list. You have no inventory.
You gotta list everything, every rope, every helmet, everything. You know, just your cascade system alone.
I mean, you got
Yeah, neither
file
one of them
cabinets, I mean, just little things.
Well, you don't know what you got.
Right,
Yeah.
you'd be playing by guess and by golly is what you'd be doing.
What we did at home was we went around and took pictures of absolutely every single thing in our whole house.
I can't see that far back in my closets.
Well, anyway,
Oh, these shoes are important.
okay.
Along those same lines, no coverage of anything inside our shed for the contents is probably not a good idea either. Because periodically we move things, you
In
know,
and out of there.
in and out of there, and not everything that we have is considered.
But if you have a portable equipment schedule, you're gonna be paid for it, no matter what it is. You know, if there's a cost for that.
Yeah.
Well, there's other reasons to have that list besides insurance.
How about the clerk's report?
Okay.
Okay. Clerk's report, beginning balance as of November 1st, $517,686.23. We have receipts for the month of November, $44,489.87. We then had payroll liabilities from our previous month, October, negative $3,453.16. Unpaid payroll liabilities from the previous month, October, $1,950.90. Other disbursements for the month of November, $232,936.97, giving us total disbursements for November, $234,439.23, giving us an ending balance as of November 30th, $327,736.87. The other part of my report are the checks written for the time period from November 10th through December 14th, today's date. These checks are on that page and a half that you have in front of you. The checks total $59,821.80. They are checks numbered 13818 through 13863, also including checks numbered 73, 74, and 75, and one voided check number 13826.
13860.
ITSM are the 5 laptops purchased by our planning commission.
Finally.
Yes.
That's why I'm staying, I'm waiting for the check. I just want, in case somebody had a question. Yeah, finally, it's right,
It's only been sitting there
big enough to
for 3
handle.
4 years, yeah.
$2,535?
You did good.
That's good.
$507 each.
Wow, very good. Good job. And I see here we've got United Rentals, they're moving, right?
Yep.
They're going on.
Who?
United Rentals
In Marshfield. they're
in
closing
Marshfield, they're
doors.
moving out of Marshfield.
I think it's to
Gonna be
West.
there anymore?
No, they're in Wausau.
They're gone.
Schofield.
Schofield.
Okay. Okay, do we have a motion to accept the report and to include the checks?
I'll make a motion that we accept the clerk's report and we accept the checks numbered 13818 through 13863, excluding 13826, but also including check number 73, 74, and 75. We total at $59,821.80.
I'll second.
Okay, the motion has been made to accept the clerk's report. Checks 13818 through 13863, excludes voided check 13826, but also includes checks 73, 74, and 75 for a total of $59,821.80. Is there discussion?
Voting Debbie,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Carolyn,
Aye.
Gary,
Aye.
Joe.
Aye.
All ayes.
Okay. Okay, treasurer's report.
Okay, checking account balance per the bank was $244,871.92, less the outstanding checks listed separately for $34,817.93, for a reconciled checking account balance of $210,053.99. The tax savings account was zeroed out as per policy every early December. The fire department equipment CD is $10,109.67. The public works replacement apparatus CD is $80,212.06. That increased by a deposit of $20,000. I believe that was Norman during the month of November. The park fund savings account of $1,998.30. The volunteer fighters fund savings account of $25,362.85 for an ending cash balance of $327,736.87.
Is there a motion to approve the treasurer's?
I'll move that we approve the treasurer's report as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded to approve the treasurer's financial report as presented. Any discussion? Vote, Norm?
Voting Debbie,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Carolyn,
Aye.
Gary,
Aye.
and Joe. All ayes.
Okay, we will move on to unfinished business. We have approved, disapproved purchase of new plow truck. Dave, do you want to give us some information on that, please?
Met with the truck country, we decided on a Freightliner by waiting to order. They did, went from a 16 to a 2017. That was about $1,000 difference. The only thing that we changed or added were the following. There's a vibrator to the box and a load booster, which is a airbag on the wing side to support the weight of that wing. The total for that unit. Excuse me, there was one, yeah, the Escalator was $1,000. Here's the very paper I was looking for. We went to aluminum wheels versus the metal wheels because of strength. Everybody that we talked to said it was better to have that, and it went to the heated front windshield of $526. The total for that was $141,837. And that did not include the trade. We still have our old truck. We have a township or two that is interested in our old unit. It's up for discussion from the board what.
What's the value on that anyway? Do you have any idea?
We had values anywhere from 15 to 30 on trade-ins, I think on this.
On the bids.
On the bids. We put in, I think it was in last month's, we replaced the
Fuel tanks.
pardon me?
Fuel.
Yeah, that was part of it, and then there was also oil pan shot a new one, which is a 2010. So, with those two things in mind, or it would amount to $141,837, and my original motion a couple months ago was not to exceed $145,000. So we did come in under that. I think we got a unit that's going to last us, for a long time. It's a capital improvement item. I think our constituents expect service. We have around 50 some miles of road, and that's only plowing one way. Are we going to get the winter to use it? No, because from the time we ordered it, it's at least 90 days out. We won't see it before the 1st of May. By the time we get it ordered, by the time it gets to Monroe for the plow package, they're about 4 to 6 weeks. So it'll be probably the 1st of May.
That's not gonna snow this year.
You wouldn't see a 17 by then anyway, would you?
Pardon me?
You wouldn't see a 2017 by then, would you?
Yep.
Oh, yes, I would.
No, under ordinary circumstances, you mean, we probably wouldn't have seen a new 17 before then, right?
No, but
Right.
the price reflects $1,000 increase over the 60.
That's what you,
Yeah.
That's the escalator clause, and that was in here.
does the 141,837, Dave, include the Monroe?
Correct.
It
Yep.
does include the Monroe.
Yep.
Okay,
And I'll make that a form of motion.
One second.
okay, the motion has been made to approve the new the 2017 Freightliner truck with Monroe, whatever that means.
With Monroe's we get the chassis, put the box, the wing, the sander, and all the affiliated equipment on it.
Okay,
Yeah.
for a price of $141,837.
Correct.
Is there a discussion?
Well, can we even vote on something? We don't know what we're gonna do yet. With trading in, or,
Well, that'll be a separate issue, right?
Right. That would be something.
That'll be a separate issue. This
I-
is just for the purchase of the new truck, and then we'll have to make a decision on.
There was one or two other townships that have approached us. One guy does the DOT on them, and their township wanted it as a backup. And, have we negotiated a price? No, because we're still gonna use it this season. So that is available for sale after the other one comes in,
Or trade-in.
or trade. I think we can get more if we sell it outright.
Well, you normally can't with any vehicle, you know, you're
Right.
better off buying outright
Yep.
and selling your own.
Okay.
So what we're approving is to go ahead and purchase or order the new plow truck for 2017.
Correct.
Okay. I'll make sure we're voting on the right same thing.
Right.
Dave, you're wanting me to use the 141,837?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
That's the price with all the extra stuff.
Right.
Everything,
That includes,
everything.
that includes the chassis plus the Monroe package, and it was easier to sign one.
All
We had-
taxes and license and all fees.
Does not include, this price does not include license fees. Because we had Monroe and Truck Country guys, Mark Arndt and Wade Neville were both there at the same time. So they worked together on bids, you know, all the time. And so one said we could do this, one said we could do this, this is what we want, this is what we don't want. I spent, probably 2 hours, 2.5 hours by the time we got to the bottom line.
But this does include the taxes too.
Well, there's
There's
No.
no tax.
There is
There is no
Oh,
tax,
yeah,
right,
yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, we don't need tax.
Yeah, no, we don't.
This
Okay,
is a plus
this
the
is
license.
it, okay,
This is the number.
okay.
This is the number plus the
Charge
license.
fee.
Yeah.
Just titling and license
No,
fees.
no, you said
though.
Title and license.
The price does not include lot fees or license.
Does not include the license.
Yeah, does not.
Okay,
Voting, Debbie,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Carolyn,
aye.
Gary,
No.
Joe.
Aye.
4 ayes, 1 no.
Okay. We're gonna move into new business. We need to approve, disapprove the 2016 budget. The electorate did approve it, so I'd like to have a motion to approve the 2016 budget.
I'll move to approve the 2016 budget as approved on the budget meeting.
I'll second.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded to approve the 2016 budget as was approved at our budget hearing. Any discussion?
We can still move monies around, correct, when we need to?
Yep.
Okay,
Mhm.
just checking.
Okay, vote.
Voting, Debbie,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Carolyn,
Aye.
Gary,
I,
Joe.
Aye.
4 ayes.
Okay, move on to approval or disapprove ordinance on implements of husbandry after selection of an option. So, Joe did present his, the options. So, Joe, do you want to make that
I want to
motion?
make a motion that we change our option to go to option F on the, of the Wisconsin DOT. Handbook. It's local options, option
Yeah.
F. And by doing that, we don't have to do anything else, we just have to say
Approve.
we.
It has to be in the minutes of the meeting, that's.
Yes.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded to approve changing our option to option F of, on the, what was it, did you just say it was?
It's the local options for the implements of husbandry
Yeah,
worksheet.
okay.
And we got a second on that, right?
Seems like-
Okay,
Yeah.
I have a question. I think, was it that last year when we adopted this, or took whatever, did we have to bring that to the board every year then? Is
Yeah.
that what that
Yeah.
was? And this way we
Yeah,
won't have to.
you missed it when I discussed it before.
Yeah.
Last year we did option E, which was we passed an ordinance.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an annual ordinance that has to be renewed every year.
Right.
Okay. By going to option F, it's where it talks about the action that has to be taken here. There's no special action needed. You just pick this, and then it's pretty much everything is the same as it was before, it's just that you don't have to do the ordinance.
Okay.
And we're just following the county's lead on this.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it went that way.
Okay.
Voting, Debbie,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Carolyn,
Aye.
Gary,
I,
Joe,
Right.
all ayes.
Okay, now the next thing we have are review and approve the insurance provider coverages. I think that we're gonna need to have some time,
Why don't we,
do it for the 28th.
Eight.
is that our last meeting?
That'll be our last meeting, yes.
So
I
we're
move that-
meeting the same night as the PC?
Yes, but we're meeting at 6,
Okay.
and they will meet at 7.
We're first anyway.
But if you're gonna,
Yeah, that's gonna work.
that isn't gonna work,
That's
because,
why I asked what date we're gonna have. We should actually have it on the 29th, because you're presenting the
The
comp plan.
The map, well, the comp plan, we can go into, to 16, in the ordinance checklist for subdivisions, we can, the only one that you have to have is the resolution on the map. And you could do that by virtue, you could do it on an email thing. All we need to do is to get the county to make the changes back to where they were before they made those changes. Besides, what they did then is they took sizes of properties. We had gone through that, and we would say, if this property is smaller than, let's say, 2 acres, or the, let's say, 2 acre minimum for RR, for example. If it's smaller, but it is surrounded by RR, it should be RR. You shouldn't have an island standing by itself. The county arbitrarily went back and changed it to a smaller zone, a lesser zone than RR. That's not right, that's not what we wanted. They did that, but we did not see it for you. We didn't have time actually to look at it. When we did a full review on it, we made the changes and the spec and sent it back. It's gotta go to the county now. We're gonna work on that between now and your meeting. Okay, so we could do this. I could make a presentation because the board, the commission's already passed their resolution to say, these need to be changed.
Okay.
If the county changes that, I could make that presentation at your meeting at 6
At 6
o'clock.
o'clock,
Yeah.
whatever
Works
works.
for you?
Sure.
Okay. Whatever pleases the board. Good.
So 6 o'clock on the 28th,
Yes,
and then your meeting is gonna be at 7. And we'll have plenty of time for all of them, correct?
Yeah, you could also, if you go through, we could get into session immediately. You could actually just adjourn your session and put your board back into session after that too.
Either that or you can wait.
Do something real quick.
I didn't record that, John.
This is the longest I've stayed in my lifetime.
okay. Okay, all
Okay,
right.
so what we're going to do is
20.
move that to the 28th.
Yes. Okay. Okay, approved 2016 ambulance service contract with the city of Marshwood. Actually, we could probably, if you're waiting to be appointed, maybe I could switch that with the next one, if you wish to leave.
My term's not up. You're appointing a new person, aren't you?
Yeah, I am appointing you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, so, but I'm just saying, can you wait through one more thing?
I certainly can.
Okay.
I'm thoroughly entertained.
Yeah, okay, yeah, right. Okay, we have the ambulance service contract from the city. They gave us, I think this says pretty much what we've had in the past. Do you want me to read all of it? I guess I need
I just
to.
want to know, are there any changes other than the price?
Yes, there is. There's one thing, there's one change to it. I'm gonna read it. Was, they have several things listed here that we agree as follows. Number 2, the user shall have the option of being transported to St. Joseph's Hospital at Marshfield, Wisconsin, Riverview Hospital at Wisconsin Rapids, Wisconsin, St. Michael's Hospital at Stevens Point, Wisconsin, or Memorial Hospital at Neelsville, Wisconsin, except users with cardiac and trauma problems shall be transported to St. Joseph's Hospital, Marshfield, Wisconsin only. Now, I spoke with the fire chief, Bob Haight, and told him that Rod and I had spoken about this. Rod felt that possibly we needed to include Aspirus in Wausau, Wisconsin, and St. Clair's in Weston, Wisconsin. And so Bob suggested I write it in, initial it, and I have the 2 contracts. We need to sign them both. We'll send them to them, and then they'll send us back the completed copies. The cost is $47,040 in 2 equal installments due on February 15th and August 15th respectively. And that's the only difference from the contract that we've had in the past.
Are they going to charge on a per mile basis? You know, because now, let's face it, if you have a crash at 90 cents a gallon and somebody says, I want to go to Aspirus, that's a considerable difference than the 3 miles or 2.5 miles to St. Joe's. Do they get charged per mile?
But that would be the patient's.
Right.
That's their patient's request and responsibility.
Okay, that was my question.
Yeah.
The answer is, are they going to be charged per mile? Is there a significant difference in cost to the patient to go to Aspirus versus St. Joe's?
Yes.
Okay.
Because it'd be some mileage.
But I think a lot of it too is, a lot of these insurance companies are saying, you can't go to Marshfield if this is what we're going to give you.
Maybe they won't cover Marshfield
Right.
because of the
Yeah.
situation. Okay, yeah, as long as I think the constituency is aware of that, if our township people are aware of it, that they have all these options, but you're paying the freight.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think that's important.
And then we also questioned, where it has, except users with cardiac and trauma problems shall be transported to St. Joseph's Hospital, Marshfield, Wisconsin only.
Well, that makes
Insurance companies will only cover them because you've got to go to the nearest hospital, and
Plus
that's
the fact
us.
that's a trauma center, so.
Yeah, so,
And on what you said there, John, most of our constituents here aren't gonna be looking to go to those hospitals anyway, because their insurance company is gonna be covering here. It's gonna be people from out of the area that are having an accident here.
Unless they have a provider, if they have.
Yeah,
a physician,
you'll have a few of them,
yeah.
but most of them.
As long as they're aware that they're paying for it, they're welcome to the choice.
That's right.
But without having it in there, then they don't have the choice.
That's right. I think
So
a lot
that's
of them with their insurance carriers will cover ambulance service anyway. I don't mind that, so.
now there is this one part in here that says the municipality shall be responsible for uncollectible accounts for ambulance charges incurred during the term of the contract after the same have been unpaid for 6 months, but not to exceed the sum of $3,000 and no cents. So,
Per occurrence?
for said term, for that term,
Okay, so it's $3,000 for the term, so if you got 10 people that don't pay, we have to pay $3,000.
we have to pay $3,000.
Well, I'm not paying mine.
Plus Debbie.
Plus that, okay.
They can just deduct it in your check.
What's your ride schedule?
Okay, so do we?
You've had several, we had to pay, or did we have to pay one just lately? Did you mention that or no? No, okay, everybody's paid.
I think it was one that was a couple of
There
years ago.
was a
we
couple
got
years
paid.
ago that we
Years
did
ago.
end up having to
It
pay.
was like.
Yeah, that's one of the things we looked at, Rod and I talked about, years back, we always used to, I don't know if you still do, we used to go through the glove compartment, get the driver's license, sit with the cop, get all the information, get the insurance tags and so on, so, because if they didn't pay, we were liable. So if we had all that information, the driver's license, their insurance cards and so on,
We still do that.
we could send a report to their insurance company, and then their insurance companies advise that that person was transported, and they're responsible.
So do we want a motion to approve this document?
I'll make a motion to approve the ambulance contract for 2017 and the dollar amount of $47,040.
With the
Or
inclusion, with the,
2016. I'm a year ahead of myself, 2016.
there you go.
I was thinking about
I'll second that.
Okay, the motion has been made to accept the, approve the ambulance service contract with the city of Marshfield for, in the amount of $47,040 for the year 2016.
And you're adding Aspirus
And adding Aspirus and St. Clair's to the contract. Is there any discussion? Okay, let's vote.
Voting Debbie,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Carolyn,
Aye.
Gary,
Aye.
and Joe.
Aye.
Okay. I have to sign this, and then you have to sign it to the, and to Norm, and return it, okay. Let's move on to the, appoint the Joint Planning Commission member. Doug Lee has resigned his position from the Plan Commission, and so, we needed, and he was actually the president of the Joint Plan Commission with the city. So the city also lost a member, so they appointed a new member. His name is William Panker. He's one of the council members. And we were asked to get our new member in place. And so the Plan Commission agreed that it should be John Bajowski. So I would like to appoint John Bajowski to the Joint Planning Commission.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? Okay, then I guess I should say the motion was made and seconded to appoint Joint Planning Commissioner.
Yeah, well, they should ask you.
Yes.
Well, nobody else wanted it.
Yeah, that was it, isn't it? Yeah, so.
I didn't even see the train.
Okay. Okay, so let's take a vote.
Voting Debbie,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Carolyn,
Aye.
Gary,
Aye.
and Joe.
Aye.
All ayes.
You're in, John. Congratulations.
Oh, goody.
Yeah, okay. Set caucus date for January 2016. Is there a,
January 11th would be our meeting.
okay,
Monday, January 11th at 6 p.m.
is it open? Yes, okay.
How about at 6:30? About a half hour before our meeting for the caucus.
Probably.
That's what we had last year. was
Okay,
6:30.
is that, okay. Okay,
That should be enough time for the caucus. you know.
How many candidates you got on this?
There's two
Supervisors.
That should be fine.
two supervisors.
Yeah.
So January 11th at 6:30. Okay?
okay. Okay, discussion and action on employee salaries. I gave you a copy of where everybody stands at this point.
This is their current.
Current.
I've got 2015 and then for 2016, correct?
I lost mine.
We gave raises last year.
Yes, we did.
I'm gonna make a motion to leave everybody the same this year.
Okay,
That's what's listed here.
okay. Is there a second?
You looking for this sheet here, like this?
So when Denise and Ann come in to help, that's what they're getting.
Oh, that's, yeah, but,
Do you wanna keep that on there?
well, they're.
Cause I'm
they're
assuming
deputies.
they'll still be
No,
asking
Oh,
for
they're
help.
deputy clerk.
They're
and deputy-
deputies now.
They're deputies.
There is a difference here, the way it's, one is 13, one is 11, so. Okay, the motion has been made, is there a second? Do you want to add something?
Where's the difference? Now, did we
I think, don't we have the policy, didn't we make the determination that deputies would be the same?
No, we never made that determination.
I thought we had.
So did you meet
Well-
and review?
I never heard of a deputy treasurer to begin with. I heard of a deputy clerk, but we've
Well,
never had a
and I
deputy
think
treasurer.
that, well, and I think the deputy treasurer will be, after we get through tax season,
Mhm.
will probably not be around too much, so.
Well, that's if you got, you know, if he's hurt.
If he needs
or
some help.
sick or something.
If he needs,
If
yeah,
he's
she's
trained.
just mainly here to help. And Denise is the same way, and I'm
And
not
they
sure.
both agreed to do that?
Yes.
Yes, they did. So. Is there a second?
Well, I will second that.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded to leave the salaries the same for 2016. Is there a discussion?
Now, this is what, for 2015, this is exactly what everybody was getting.
Yeah,
And
Yes.
it's going to be the same for 2016, and on this motion, if it passes.
yes.
Okay. The
Okay,
only thing is, on Pat's,
okay.
there is nothing listed for his pension.
Oh, wait a minute. Let me see what I had on here. I did bring my last year's. Oh, here's my paper.
$2,000 or something.
It's amazing, it's in the folder with salaries.
That's always figured, isn't it?
He
So
was
much an hour
receiving $1
per
for
hour,
each hour worked for this
Okay.
year.
so that would have to be also,
So I can state that on
have to be
there.
listed on there.
$1 per hour.
I have .95 per hour to $1 per hour for his retirement fund.
So it's $1 an hour.
Dollar an hour
Yep.
for the retirement fund. So that should be included in there.
I will include that. Thank you.
Okay.
That includes all his overtime hours.
Now,
If he works
it's-
50 hours a week, he gets $50 for that week.
Yes,
Correct.
yes.
Correct.
Mhm. Yeah,
Mhm.
okay. Let's go.
Voting? Debbie,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Carolyn,
Aye.
Gary,
I,
and Joe.
Aye.
All ayes.
Okay, one more thing. Christmas bonuses for employees. Should we leave those the same as they were in the past?
Did we, everybody, no, Norm wasn't there last Christmas, was he, as a clerk?
No, he
Okay,
wasn't.
And neither was Steve.
No?
Pat and Jean and Ronnie and Denise and Ann, I think Denise and Ann, we could, I don't know what they got last year. But they're not here, they're really.
You want to get back to the
No,
deputy?
it was, go ahead, what,
Okay, Pat, we paid $100 as a full-time employee for a Christmas bonus.
Okay.
For Ronnie and Jean was $50 each.
Mhm.
And for Ann and Denise, now Steve and Norm would be $50 each. So you'd have $300 total.
yes, that's what it came to.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I move we do the Christmas bonuses the same as last year.
I'll second.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded to keep the Christmas bonuses as last year. Any discussion? Okay.
Voting, Debbie,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Carolyn,
Aye.
Gary,
Aye.
and Joe.
Aye.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Because you both.
Gesundheit.
I know, I don't need that, you need
What
that.
what do you need?
You can put that in.
Well, she needed
Put
that
that in your
before.
file.
Yeah,
I needed it last September. I talked to her.
I'll just put it in the room.
None of the meeting people came to visit you, see?
We're good?
Somebody made a motion to adjourn.
Oh,
I'll make it.
there we go.
Do we need that?
Yeah, we do.
Joe did.
Joe did and Dave seconds, okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, meeting
Joe and
adjourned.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, it ended up in a longer meeting. Oh, here, I do have a card that you should all read. Okay, here, you and Joe want to read it? I'm sorry, I should have passed it earlier.
That's just what you got to look at. Just take a look at this.
What did you see
You'll see the replacement valve.
with your figures there?
Oh, you got the building reports. Much higher, but you got to look at his personal property. Now, are they scheduling?
Oh, for
on the
Vivian?
agenda?